For more than 30 years, Robert Edward Auctions has been the nation's premier auction house, specializing in sports memorabilia and trading cards. With significant experience and expertise in all major sport, non-sport, and Americana collectibles, REA has helped clients achieve record-breaking prices for their items and has done so with a reputation for integrity and transparency. By actively partnering with collectors and enthusiasts throughout the entire process, REA has created the hobby's most trusted forum for selling high-quality collectibles. Go to robertedwardauctions.com for more information on how to buy or sell in their next auction.
Experience, quality, consistency, and the quickest turnaround times in the grading industry? We are proud to partner with SGC Grading. Check them out at www.gosgc.com.
Hi, I'm Danny Black.
And I'm John Newman.
Welcome to Card Mensches. Well, you might notice that John Newman has changed a little bit since the National. He now looks a lot like Jeremy Lee. In fact, it is Jeremy Lee. What's going on, Jeremy?
Oh, I'm so happy to be subbing in here for John. I hope he gets well soon. But it's a pleasure to be here with you tonight, Danny, on Card Mensches. I love this.
We are on Card Mensches. We are live, so if you have comments, please check in. Try to keep up with those. Good evening, Ruben. And so one of the things is, first of all, John, we're thinking about you, buddy. We hope you're doing okay. John is recovering. Mookie wants to know what happened to John's hair. That is not part of the reason he's feeling under the weather, but Jeremy makes up for being a little bit taller.
It's a fair question from Mookie, though. It's a fair question.
I don't know. Would you trade being short?
For hair?
Yeah.
Well, not being short, but I do have 2 inches to give. So I would give a couple inches for hair. Sure. Yeah, sure.
See, because I want to be taller. And well, I think I would take that trade in a second.
You don't have much hair to give though yourself there, Mr. Black.
Right. Thank you. I'm losing on both ends here. I got the raw deal. Thank you for pointing that out. This is hysterical. Ruben wants to know, it says John must have had a bad batch of jerky. Yes, John doesn't like taking lunch at the National, so he packs like he's going on Mount Kilimanjaro for lunch. And so, yes. And get well soon. Yes. Well, John's fine, everybody. So we don't need to make this a tribute episode. He will be back in 2 weeks. But I've wanted to have you on for a while. I know John wanted to have you on for a while. We're big fans of your show. We're friends off the air, and you're a fellow mensch. So, you know, we get to do late night in the hobby and talk about all things hobby. And you picked a pretty good week to be Lou Gehrig to his Wally Pipp. A lot going on.
There's some things going on. Yeah, I mean, we're just coming off the National. There's some big headlines since then. So where do you want to start?
Well, let me start with all the obvious questions I have to ask. How was your National?
It was great. It was 5 days of hobby heaven. It was hot as hell, but it was hobby heaven for a couple of days there when, you know, the air conditioning got a little bit overpowered. But, you know, outside of that, I'd still rather be there than not. And, you know, I had Danny, you know what it's like. There's just the hobby's become such a great community in recent years because of social media that you go there and you know so many people, and there's tons of conversations to have and people to talk to and catch up and really further those relationships. You know, I see Mookie. I didn't run into Mookie. There's so many people that I didn't run into, and then there's people I ran into 3 or 4 times. It was just luck of the draw. The mensch off the bench. Right.
I believe Team Israel actually created the mensch on the bench. And that's what they called their manager, was the mensch on the bench. So, You're the mensch coming off the bench, I guess. I got to talk to you for a little bit, but it's always too short at the national, and so I couldn't agree with you more. I was kind of disappointed that I didn't get more personal time to like play with cards and be at the biggest card show in the world. And are you getting to a place now with your professional stuff where you're losing, the ability to really see the whole show, or do you still get that time?
I mean, I wasn't tethered to any specific booth. I'm there. I'm part of TAG. I'm representing TAG, but I wasn't part of the production of the on-site grading. I wasn't sort of on staff while I was there. So I was able to walk around the show floor, and I walked that floor for pretty much 5 solid days. And so I did get to look at cards. I guess the funny thing, or the way it worked out, was I spent all my money on, what was it, day, I guess the Wednesday, I think it was Wednesday. I spent all my money. So I was out of the game after that, but I still wanted to be there, and I still enjoyed walking around. So,
well, on Card Mensches, we don't hide anything. You and I saw each other Thursday night, and you were debating whether or not to make a purchase.
So that was okay. So it was that later that night I actually consummated that deal. So it was Thursday I spent all my money. Yeah.
Okay.
It's all a blur.
Because that answers my next question, which was, did you make the deal on Thursday?
I did. It was fun. Well, you were there, so we were sitting at the whatever hotel we were at, and Embassy Suites, I believe, and we were at the YouTube get together that Mike Moynihan organizes. And we're sitting at a table, you, me, Rich Klein, Dr. Beckett, Mike Summer was at the table with us. Victor, rookie card, was at the table with us.
Palmer, John Newman. It was huge. Yep.
Yeah, John Newman we're sitting around the table, and I get a text, and I start asking you guys sort of for advice, like it's a big purchase, and et cetera, et cetera. And everyone was very helpful. Mike Summer was getting right into it with me. Dr. Beckett was giving me his best advice. And then I had to go. I went off to another dinner, and I was sitting amongst a bunch of hockey collectors. And now there were a couple guys there that I knew could opine on the what was fair. Anyway, ended up pulling the trigger from Moretti's restaurant, and I text the guy, I go, deal. And he writes back and he goes, okay, so how do I get you the cards? I said, I'll see you at the show tomorrow. He says, I'm not going to be there. I'm leaving at noon back to California. I said, well, I'm at Moretti's in Rosemont. He's like, all right, I'll jump in an Uber. And the seller was at our table in Moretti's restaurant 15 minutes later. And then I went through this like 5 minutes of mental hell where I couldn't find my money in my suitcase, in my little wheelie. And I found it, thank God. And paid him and had the cards. I have the cards right here with me now. So
we'll pull it out, and we'll say hi to Simon. Simon, awesome seeing you at the National.
Yeah, it was good to see Simon as well. So what these two cards were, and these are I'll just put them up at the same time, but these are dual shields, game-worn NHL shields. These are both 1-of-1s. The top card is from the first year of the Cup, 05-06, and the bottom one is from the second year of the Cup, 06-07, and they are both featuring Teemu Selanne, who's my favorite professional athlete of all time, and Paul Kariya, who together they formed a dynamic duo on the Anaheim Ducks in the late 90s, early 2000s. And these are, I still can't believe I own them. And I'm very happy to. I'm glad I made the decision to buy them. I'm really happy I did.
So I'm happy for you because I was there for the mental wrestling. And I mean, it's a lot more fun to watch other people suffer on these decisions when it's not yours.
Right.
It's a lot of fun to watch other people try to decide to buy big cards and give your opinion when it's not your money. So I had a lot of fun that night. I appreciate that.
Well, I appreciated everyone helping me get to that decision. I would have got there myself, but honestly, like it's just nice to bounce it. When you're at home by yourself buying cards online, you don't have that group of that fraternity that you can lean on and say, hey, what do you think? And so I was very happy. And you know what? I mean, having Dr. Beckett give you his advice on whether or not, and his advice was very, very pragmatic. His advice was very good advice, as his, I don't think he says words that aren't worthy ever. He's, so it was a fun experience. I think I'll remember that for a very long time.
Well, he proved street smarts, not just boardroom smarts, which was cool to see. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. What else did you do fun? Without giving too many details, were dinners at nights?
I was just telling I just came from my mother's house for dinner, and I was telling her, I think I had 3 filet mignons on 3 consecutive nights at 3 different steakhouses. I don't eat steak that often. But it was, the evening activities there's lots of them, and then there's the public trade nights. So, yeah, I mean, it was every night there was something to do, if not 3 things. Or 6 things. I think I had 6 things in my Friday night calendar. I could only get to 3 of them. Like it's too bad, but it's only, only so many hours in the evening. But yeah, it was the evenings were as productive as the days, and as enjoyable, and the discussions and the, solidifying friendships and relationships. It's every minute you're awake there, you're part of it.
One of the things I don't think people realize is that even content creators have to do business to a certain extent. So I assume, like myself, you got to keep the engines moving. So did you get all your meetings in? Did you actually get them all done?
Yeah. I had a few meetings that were pre-scheduled throughout the days. I tried to schedule them for later on in the day, so that, in the morning when, you want to look at the card tables and find cards, I, instead of being, sitting in a meeting at 11 a.m., I'd rather be pounding the pavement. But yeah, I had meetings. The one was kind of fun and funny, and it made it onto my Instagram. Was, again, I don't know the day. The days are all a jumble, Danny, but I was sitting on the Dave and Adams, the Chase, the Chase there with Troy LeCastro, and I'm sitting on the couches, and they're interviewing me. And at the very end of the interview, as we're saying goodbye, Jaromir Jagr walks by, looks over at us, and I'm like, Jagr, legend, and then those guys are like, yeah, it's pretty cool. And then I'm like, all right, guys, thank you. I'm going to go chase him down. And I jump off their couch and go chase down Jagr. And then I ended up doing a 5.5-minute interview with him, and he was super cool about it. Had a great 5-minute chat with him. So that's a bit of a highlight for me. I don't stand in line for autographs. I don't care about getting autographs from players in person. It's not my thing. It just doesn't interest me for myself. So you're not going to see me ever in an autograph line, and even interviewing Jaromir Jagr, who is an absolute legend. It was just, the highlight for me was talking to him, and having that on video was pretty cool. And I didn't ask him for an autograph. It didn't even dawn on me to ask him for an autograph.
Sure.
But I have his autograph already. I have cards with his autograph already. So, but we talked about autographing, and he gave his thoughts on that. It was a really cool, candid discussion.
Derek Jeter was walking the building.
I didn't see him at all, but I'm well aware he was there.
Yeah, as everybody's heard. Is the hobby getting famous?
I think so. I think not only our hobby, but collectibles in general seem to be grabbing more and more headlines. We saw that iPhone 4 gig first generation sell for $190,000 a couple of weeks ago. That was all over the news, and now we're seeing, I think I know what you're getting at. Now we're seeing all the news outlets reporting on the biggest headline of the last few days. So, the trading card wars, I think, was the headline. So, between Derek Jeter and there's been a few other things going on lately with Jerry West and Bill Walton. And I mean, I think the hobby is, I remember you go back 3 years in the pandemic, and that there was that whole discussion, Danny, about what inning are we in? I think that discussion is being reinvigorated now because people are thinking we're really early. I'm not saying it's the inning thing, but a lot of people I'm seeing are saying right now that we're very early in the hobby, which feels weird considering what the last 3 years have been like. So,
well, it also makes me wonder what I've been doing for 30 years.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, like easy on the innings, guys. We don't need to put a number on it, because it just makes me feel old. I don't know. So ask me something.
Well, yeah. So did you get, I mean, the other thing, and that I'll put this to you is, as far as being a content creator at the show, a lot of it is, first of all, there's a lot of talking to people, a lot of selfies, which is awesome. But it's also about lining up guests. I like to use the National as a way to, fill up my pipeline of guests through the end of the year, and was able to do that. So that was pretty cool. But what about you? What were you trying to accomplish there from a Hobby News Daily perspective, Sports Vault, and Card Mensches?
I wanted to get you on Card Mensches.
Well, mission accomplished.
I'm saying John's not even sick. I didn't tell him we were recording tonight. Ruben says, I'm sure Danny's a huge Jeter supporter, especially after Jeffrey Mayer. Danny is not a huge Jeter supporter well before Jeffrey Mayer. So just to clarify that, I was never a Jeter supporter. Go Orioles. I went looking for cards. So we'll get back to Panini Fanatics in a second, but I went looking for cards, and I wanted to show off cards. So I was hoping you would ask me that.
Well, let's see what you got.
So I'm Baltimore centric, as you know. Everything I talk about has to be Baltimore related. I picked up his 2018 Topps Tribute Al Kaline, who's actually born in Baltimore, at a 99.
Very nice.
And then I picked up a little bit earlier in his career, his 54 rookie.
I love 54s. So many people love 56s and even 55s, and I love 55 for the Koufax and the Clemente. But I'm not a big fan of the 56 design or the 55 in many cases, but I love the 54s. I just love them.
I'm actually putting the 57 set together, and I was sure I was going to get the Brooks Robinson rookie at the National. Like, I had made up my mind. It was done. I mean, I don't mean to brag, but the eye appeal on this thing is ridiculous.
It looks really nice.
It's just one of these, and this won't do it justice. But for a four, I mean,
the centering's great. It looks to have some, on a 4, you're going to have a little bit of rounding on the corners, and you have a bit, but it's not like, I like that. And the color looks bold. That's a great copy, Danny. Like from this perspective, yeah.
And the other card that I'm a huge fan of is the 33 Moberg, 33 Gaudy Moberg. Moberg, for those of you who don't know, actually was a spy for the United States, and it wasn't known until years later. It's a great story. There's a book, there's a movie, and he was Jewish. So I've bought and sold this card numerous times. It is the 33 Gaudy Moberg rookie. But the one, and I love this, because somewhere there's a story. There's a chicken on the back, Jeremy.
There's a chicken on the back. That's great.
There's a chicken on the back. So that's my chicken Moberg. I couldn't resist.
Yeah, that's really cool. I didn't pick up any vintage at the show. I only picked up four cards all week that I got at the show, but I did pick up cards that were delivered to me, got a couple of presents. And then
wait, I never got back to this. So you have hockey card Uber or hockey card Uber Eats? Is it you just order cards and they get delivered to you?
Yeah, exactly. I can tell them where I am. No, I used Ship My Cards had a delivery for me there. Also I sent stuff to my brother in Arizona. He brought some stuff to me, and then there were just some, like this card here this is a 2013 Panini Prism Gold Timu Solani out of 10 that was delivered to me. The seller was in Florida, I bought it. We did the deal on Instagram, and he shipped it to Mitch, who's in Chicago, and Mitch brought it to me, so it didn't have to cross the border.
This is like who saw Ferris at 31 Flavors.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's cool, though.
And
by the way, the gold on that sparkles like crazy.
Sparkles. Last night I was showing it to my wife, and I said, she was looking at it like at the bedside, and the lights were off in our room, and she's like, "Yeah, it looks nice." I go, "No, honey, you got to go in the light, go take it in light." She's like, "Okay." So she goes into the bathroom, and she's like, "Oh yeah," like she really liked it. Like, this is a very shiny card.
I mean, that's sharp stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, that's why you go for the HD setting when you do your recording. Mookie wants to know, and I don't know if you want to go first or tap out, but we take all questions here. Were either or both of you talking to new potential business partners at the National? Anything cooking you want to share?
I did. I've got one thing cooking. I'm not at liberty to disclose it yet, but I've been, as you know, Mookie watches my channel. I'm grateful for that, for Mookie, and of course everyone else. But I've been really building out my live auction services business, if you will. I started with PWCC it's almost 2.5 years. I've been covering auctions for them, and I'm up to 7 clients or partners, whatever you want to call them. And I talked to another one at the show that is a substantial player in the hobby that I'm looking forward to and hoping is going to turn into partner or / client number 8 for my auction services. I guess I can call it a business because I don't do it for free. So I'm hoping to add number 8 to my roster of partners, and that was just a really serendipitous sort of thing that I'm happy about. Yeah.
Mookie, I will answer this in 2 directions. One, yes, Card Mensches did talk to some people, and hopefully we'll have some stuff to announce. But as you know, I'm involved in Hobby News Daily and spent a lot of times in meetings for that. And so actually we'll have some big announcements on that coming up soon. So yes, definitely part of the reason you go to Chicago or for these things. But I will tell you, this is a lot more fun.
Yeah.
Nothing against anybody that I had meetings with, please. Nothing personal. But if without this cardboard, none of us would have been there. So
that's the truth, right? I mean, someone said, I forget where I saw it, but someone said, it's a trade show. Like the National it's not just a card show. You've got all the corporate there more than ever. Some people tolerate it. Some people like it. Some people don't like it, but it's a part of it now. But it's really a gathering of most people who are very active in the hobby, maybe even more than just as a collector. And so it's the place to be if you want to develop some relationships and build out some partnerships, or just even plant some seeds. It's a good place to start.
Ruben says Danny signed an endorsement deal with Hebron National Hot Dogs. Ruben, we're after hours, but we're not quite late enough for my response to that one. But yes, I will take any endorsement if they would like to bring it on. I will be happy to endorse their hot dogs, even though I am a hamburger guy. But I don't think there's not a Hebrew National hamburger.
Not that I'm aware of.
I don't know how we get a kosher dog but not a burger. I don't know. These are the things we think about, Jeremy.
This is important stuff, man. We're solving
these are the world's problems.
Exactly.
And I guess we should mention, right after the hamburger, Panini did sue Fanatics.
Oh, because the Panini sandwich.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
see, well done.
I heard about that. Yeah.
I mean, okay. This is one, the least surprising lawsuit in the history of the hobby. And 2, the biggest news to come out of nowhere in a little while, as far as how excited the hobby's going to get to talk about it. Whether or not the merits of the case have legs, the hobby loves gossip. So I guess what was your first reaction when you heard?
Waste of time and money from Panini is my thoughts. I don't think they have a case whatsoever. I mean, I just don't think that Fanatics, people toss around the word monopoly quite a bit, but Fanatics is not a monopoly. There is a monopoly implied. I believe, maybe I'm wrong. So, fact check me or definition check me. But my recollection of economics and, a business degree is that a monopoly is something where you stifle or you stifle and or have no competition, or you just gobble up the competition. I mean, Panini makes trading cards. There are other companies that make trading cards, and they were also at the National. So, the judge, jury, whomever can just go to the National and see, okay, so there's competition for their trading cards arm. Okay. They have a pricing tool, right? Well, there's competition for their pricing data tool. They have an auction house. Okay. Well, there's a million auction houses in the room. So no monopoly there. I don't, people are speculating that they're going to acquire a grading company. Well, they can't acquire all. Well, maybe they can, but I don't think they're going to acquire all of them. So there's tons of competition there. I don't see any area of their business that really qualifies as a monopoly. I think the correct term to describe Fanatics is conglomerate. They are diversifying their business within a specific industry. So it's to me, it's not a monopoly. I don't see there being any I just think I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what Panini's doing. They must be getting bored over there. I really don't know what they're doing. I don't think it's going to have legs. I think the hobby, honestly, a little excited over something that's not that exciting here, in my opinion. I want to see what Paul Lesko says about it.
That's what we do, Jeremy. That's what we do as a hobby. We overreact.
Well, not we as a hobby or content creators with platforms,
All right, now you're gonna make me think. You're probably right.
I just personally, it's not that big of a news to me, because I think it's going to go away, but I could be way wrong.
Well, the one point that reading the stuff that I read that I actually found interesting was the point of antitrust, that the competitive nature of a 20-year contract and license with the leagues. That essentially that length of time is so disproportionate to every previous contract. I don't know that. I mean, that's a long time to lock up and not have that open.
Well, but think about that, right? So then Panini really should have named Fanatics, MLB, MLBPA, and NFL, et cetera, right? NBA, NBAPA. It should have named them all in their suit and their claim.
Stay tuned for part 2.
Well, but if they do that, you think those bodies can decide to do business with Panini or not? They'll say,
they're not going to sue the people.
If the government tells them they have to issue 2 licenses, well, now they're going to call Upper Deck, and Panini can go pound sand back to Italy.
It reminds me of Flair and Donruss. It reminds me all over again, when Topps had competition, everybody thought the world was going to end. And, hopefully it doesn't take as long for the market to adjust, but the market got better.
Yeah.
The products got better. And it took the junk wax, and hopefully it doesn't take that. But we ended up with, I think, a far better quality card now.
We did in that really in that second half of the 90s, right? Because you had the new companies come in 81, and then you've got the coasting through the 80s, and then you've got Upper Deck on the scene in 1989 with this new technology, this new cardstock, this new foil wrap, the hologram, and then you see Pro Set and Score and Skybox. These new companies come in. And then the junk wax era ends, the hobby kind of dies for 5 years, and that's when we see the best cards, in that when they were struggling to stay alive. I don't know that we'll ever get back to that kind of state of the hobby, where necessity they're struggling to stay alive.
Necessity is the mother of all invention. Is that never more true than in that what you just described?
Yeah, I think so. So yeah, it's interesting. It's going to be fun for a lot of people. I'm not gonna, for me as a consumer of content, the only person I'll listen, but the only person I'm actually gonna like put stock into what they're saying is Paul Lesko. I do like Paul, and I know he's a smart guy, and he really looks at these things through the lens of an attorney. So I want to see what Paul has to say about it. I know yesterday he was, as he said on Twitter, he was out drinking with his mother, so he wasn't able to dig into it, but I'm sure he will today or tomorrow. So we'll see. If he says there's something there, then I'm going to perk up and I'll swallow my words that I just said happily.
Well, I was honored to sign the jersey of Paul Lesko. So did you get it on there? So yes, Paul, we need more information. The hobby world awaits you, Paul. You are our legal guide.
Yeah.
Good to see Brendan Ryan. Good point, Jeremy.
Hello,
keep the card companies hungry. Yeah. I mean, what do you think of what Upper Deck has done as a business model? And do you think they should change if the opportunity arose in this situation?
I think Upper Deck would embrace being able to make baseball, football, and basketball cards again. I think they would embrace it, but Upper Deck they're very content where they are right now. They've got a good business going from what I can tell. I had the president, Jason Mashra, on my show 6 weeks ago. I mean, they seem to be doing just fine with their hockey and Marvel licenses and memorabilia. Upper Deck authenticated, they've still got Gretzky and Jordan. They just signed Connor Bedard. Like Upper Deck's doing fine. Upper Deck makes, and I believe Upper Deck makes the nicest, the highest quality cards. I'm not saying that their cards do come out of packs damaged. I understand that, and I'm sure they wish that didn't happen, but it does. But overall, I'm happy. I feel very fortunate. I collect all sports, Danny, but hockey's my number one, and I feel very fortunate that we have Upper Deck in the hockey world and not Panini.
I'm shocked to hear hockey was number one, by the way. I've always wondered why they haven't gone unlicensed in the other sports.
Well, maybe, you know what? I mean, that would be, I saw someone made the comment earlier. Oh yeah. Simon said, pot calling the kettle black, which is Simon always has smart comments, but Upper Deck has had their beef with Leaf for making unlicensed hockey cards. So if they went and made unlicensed basketball, baseball, football cards, which they do. I mean, this product right here has LeBron James, Michael Jordan, but they're not making the whole league. They're only making players that they have a deal with. So I think they do it differently than Leaf does. But I don't, if they were to do what they go after Leaf for doing, how's that going to look in court when they're going after Leaf here and there? So
yeah, my feelings on Leaf I'll leave aside, but I think the quality of the Upper Deck product would be appreciated by fans in other sports.
For sure.
And that's the perspective I was taking on it, that a lot of the unlicensed products that are put out, I think, are very mediocre.
Yeah. Listen, the only unlicensed manufacturer whose cards I've actually seen would be Leaf, and Brian Gray and his team there. They make a lot of hockey cards, and they do a nice job on some. And some of them, I'm like, well, this is ugly. I have no interest in it. And some are like, this is beautiful. And so hockey's pretty lucky, and their memorabilia is second to none because they acquired the collection of Dr. Brian Price, the former owner of In the Game, who Leaf acquired, and the inventory. So hockey, we're lucky in hockey. But I agree with you, Danny. I know as a baseball and a football and a basketball collector, I wish I could buy Upper Deck cards because I look at now Topps. I like some Topps products a lot, but Panini's product, I do like Flawless and I like Immaculate, but honestly, National Treasures, to me, it's a junky product. I just don't think it's a high for the price point. It's just not. It doesn't look or have that look and feel of a very expensive product. And then with all the parallels and everything else, now I like optics design better than Prism. We all have these are just my personal tastes.
Sure.
And I don't want to sit here and trash on these companies, but really, and I'm not on the companies, it's more on the product. And I do just think
we say it all the time. We're just talking cards.
Yeah. I just really like Upper Deck's product.
I would love to see them go head to head with Panini in baseball and push that envelope again.
Speaking of Leaf.
Oh, I saw that on your social.
Yeah, I got a Brian Gray super. It's the card superhero Brian Gray says the notorious BCG. I think it's hilarious. I love it.
I hope you did not spend a lot of money on that.
I didn't.
Okay.
But I would have. I would have paid for that.
Paid and paid a lot of money are two different things. There's an entertainment value.
I would have paid $100 for it to support. It's pro set. It's Brian. I mean, listen, love or hate Brian Gray, and I'm more in the. I like Brian a lot. We have a good rapport, me and him. Sure. I enjoy him. To me, he is good. He is a legend. Brian Gray will go down as a legend in this hobby. Now, so will Dr. Beckett. They are two different legends. They don't. One is maybe Marvel, one is DC. I don't know how that works, but they are very right. I'm not saying they're in the same category. They're just very different people. And but Brian Gray will go down as a legend of this hobby, and I'm happy to have that card because I'm a fan of Danny. I'm a fan of the hobby. I'm a fan of the hobby.
That's what I said. And this is Ruben has a question that I want to bring back to you is bring back Topps Chrome hockey. Now, how do you feel about non-Upper Deck hockey?
Well, so I miss Topps Heritage hockey that came in and out in 2001 and 02. I collected those sets. I collected the retro Fractor parallel sets. I have 2 years of it, not the first year. Too late on that. But anyway, I would love for Topps to be able to make hockey cards again. I would love for Topps to be able to make hockey cards again, licensed, and to compete with Upper Deck. I'd have no problem with that as a collector. Topps makes some beautiful cards, in my opinion.
Mookie says Dr. B and Brian Gray. One is Tony Gwynn and one is Pete Rose. I'll let you decide which is which. We'll leave it at that. Chris Gwynn, Tony's son, by the way, does a fantastic podcast on MLB Network Radio. If you're a baseball nerd, check that out. So he got inducted the same with Cal Ripken. I do have a soft spot for Tony Gwynn because of that. It always comes back to Baltimore.
I have a soft spot for Tony Gwynn and Cal Ripken. I came home, Danny, to a COM-C delivery, and I've really taken a liking to these. Where did I put them? Oh, right here. I've really taken a liking to these cards here, which I found one at my local card show. I found a Ray Allen at my local card show, so I just kind of fanned them out here. But these are Gallery of Heroes. So I picked up a Brett Favre. I picked up a Karl Malone.
Oh, those are cool.
Yogi Berra. That's Willie Mays. Babe Ruth.
It almost looks like what they call it, the cathedral back.
Yeah. Stained glass and a Sandy Koufax. Well, I also had a Cal Ripken Jr. in the order, but by accident I bought the jumbo. So it's actually sitting up on my windowsill, and it's beautiful there with light shining through. The colors are gorgeous. It's funny. It's the only thing. You want me to show this thing? I'll turn my camera around.
Absolutely.
Okay. 1 second. I'm just gonna put my hand over it for a second.
Okay.
So see that?
That's hysterical.
That's the only. So you can see it right there.
Stained glass by Cal Ripken.
Yeah, that's the only card on my windowsill. These two showcases are empty. Those are showcases that I actually sort of emptied out before I left town for the National. I'm going to refill them now that I'm home.
Which might lead maybe to your answer here, maybe not. If you guys could hold on to one memory for the National this year, what would it be?
You go first.
That's a great question. One memory. Well, I'm going to give two different answers. One at the National and one away from the National. At the National, without a doubt, getting my Moberg, chicken back and all. There's a story there. Somebody put a chicken on the back of this card, and I'm dying to know it. And to me, it's one of my favorite purchases ever. Is my chicken back Moberg. Away from it, the fillet. Jeremy, you said it. I don't. Whether it was Harry Carey's or Gibson's or Sullivan's or wherever you ended up, it was filet, medium rare, Pittsburgh style, with a side of potatoes, and the company is what makes the memory. But let's be honest, a good piece of meat never hurts.
Yeah. I was saying I had back-to-back fillets. It was Morton's, Gibson's, and Capitol Grill night after night after night. A lot of steak, but and one of those was my second dinner because I was at another dinner, so I couldn't even finish my fillet. I think that was a Capitol Grill, which was delicious. For me, memories. I'm going to do the same thing you did. One in the National, one away. So in the National. I mean, there's lots of great memories, a lot of people I saw, but I took a picture, a 3-person picture with me in the middle. On this side, I had Lamim James, and on this side, I had the man behind Card Porn, and I got a picture with the three of us. So that was, which I promised not to share, and I won't, but that's kind of cool. I mean, 2 legendary accounts in the hobby, and, so that was kind of cool. And then away, it's going to be that moment that you were there at that table, again, with John Newman and Rich Klein and Dr. Beckett and Mike Summer and Victor and Courtney from Reckless Cards. She was there at the time. I think I'm forgetting somebody, and I so apologize. But that was getting advice from people that I respect, like everyone that was like, kudos to Mike Moynihan, put on just a lovely evening there. He's done it's the 3rd year I've been there for that. And it was just nice to see all those people there, and even people that I've had beef. The word I'm using lately, I've had beef with, and shaking their hands, and it was that was a great experience. Sometimes
even table bets with friends can be a good time when you run into people. So. I've heard a lot of people say that you and I entertain them very much. So we'll leave that off air. Jeremy, the interview with Yager was hilarious. I cracked up when he said he didn't like signing autographs.
Well, what he said, yeah. So that's also a memory in the show that luckily I caught that on video. But yeah, that was awesome. And what he said was, he didn't like signing autographs for the same people every game. When every time he'd visit whatever city, he said you'd see the same people, and that they're just selling them. He didn't like doing that. I don't think he loves it anyway, but that's what he was talking about. I put that reel out, Danny, and it was a 5.5-minute interview, but the reels cut it off after 90 seconds. And I didn't realize that till the next day, and then I reposted the whole thing to my main page. So the whole interview is out there now with Jaromir, and yeah, I'm really happy. That was just an awesome experience to talk to him and get really. The result was he was so candid, and I think people appreciated it.
Was he caught off guard that did you approach him with like a lot of hockey knowledge right away to make a good impression, or what was the in? Because I know it's not. I'm a diehard Penguins fan.
I don't remember what I said to him when I first, because I darted off the Dave Adams the casting couch interview place, and I ran up to Yager. He wasn't too far ahead, and I said, hey, I'm kind of not remembering, but I basically think what I said was, hey, big fan. Hey, would you take a minute and let me ask you a few quick questions on camera? And he's like, he wasn't totally excited about it, but he's like, okay. So, and you see this in the interview, but at the beginning, I say, and I had nothing prepared. I had no time to think about what I would ask him. So I go, I just want to say that I've been a fan of you since you started out. And he goes, oh yeah. how old are you? I go, 51. He goes, oh, me too. And that was when he loosened up, from when he realized that him and I, like, we have the same birth year, I get, right? When he realized that, he loosened up and was more than happy to stay and talk to me. And even after the interview ended, there's a cut in that interview, if anyone noticed, where I totally messed up and I said something that wasn't factual. Like, he played for 9 teams. So at one point I say, so Yarmer, you played your whole career with the Pittsburgh Penguins. And as soon as I said that, I'm like, oh my God. And I'm recording like, no, you didn't. You played for like 8 teams. Yeah. So during when we're recording, I messed up. So he goes, that's okay. Everyone makes mistakes. Okay. Well, then we resume. At the end, after I stopped recording, we chatted for another couple minutes, and he goes, yeah, you effed up. He says to me, you effed up. Just like, but he said the F word. He goes, yeah, you effed up. And I'm like, I know, man. I go, I know. I go, you played for my team. Your last team was my Calgary Flame. I saw you play here. I know you've played for, like, there's the Traveling Yagers, which is a mockery of the Traveling Wilburys. Remember them?
Oh, sure.
There's a group of Yager fans who when he was in NHL, would travel from arena to arena, and there'd be like 8 or 9 of them, and they'd all wear one of his different uniforms. They'd have the big flow wigs coming because he had big hair, and they called themselves the Traveling Yagers. So I'm well aware. Anyway, it was just pretty cool that he at first he's like, it's okay, everyone makes mistakes, and after he goes, yeah, you effed up.
That's funny. You know, I'm more of a Caps fan.
Ooh, is that's a in person? Yeah.
So, but it was authenticated.
Yeah, that looks like a great auto. Nice.
This was my last national pickup.
I picked up. This is the Ovechkin I picked up there. Just
a little bit nicer than mine. Yeah, a little bit cooler than mine.
Gave up a couple of autographs. Gave up a Gretzky autograph, a Gordie Howe autograph, and a little bit of money for this. So that was cool. And then the last card I got there was this one here, Danny. And this, I love this card. This is a Wayne Gretzky, Gordie Howe dual game used patch card. And look at that Gordie Howe patch. Vintage nice. Detroit.
And that's not one of the ones from the store, the team store?
No, this is pack pulled, SP game used.
No, I know. I'm kidding.
Oh, the jersey.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think this is no. I think this is. It says game used on the back, so I'll go with awesome. That. But who knows, really, right?
Yeah, that's a whole nother conversation. Jeremy must have said he's a big Bon Jovi fan because that was the first music he bought in the States.
Yager, hilarious. I didn't know that.
I did not know that either. John Keating, let's go Baltimore Skipjacks. Yes,
I got to meet John Keating a couple times. Hello, John. It was a pleasure to meet you. It was. I mean, that was the best part, meeting all these people that you only know names and faces.
Let's be honest. We all meet people and physically we're surprised by some of them. We are. John Keating is far more muscular than I ever expected. I think John Keating could have bench pressed me if he wants to.
I thought he was a wimp. I'm just kidding. He's a handsome man. I'll put it to you that. He's right. One heck of a handsome man, John Keating.
All I know is now when he doesn't return my text, he's probably at LA Fitness.
Right.
So, and boo to the, we'll say capitals there. John Keating says John Keating is a fraud. I think if you go third person, that's a little meta. Mike Petty, Stephanie Garcia might have been at the YouTube event. Jeremy was talking. We were lucky enough to actually be at a table sitting around for this one specific conversation. So we were.
Yeah, I don't know that I saw Mama Breaks at that there that night. The only woman I remember seeing was Courtney that I recognized. There were some other women, and maybe they were with their husbands. I don't remember seeing many other women in that gathering.
That 70s card show would like to know Bare Naked Ladies or Rush.
Yeah, that's I mean, I've probably spent way more time listening to the Bare Naked Ladies because that was the 90s, you know. But I think Rush for sure would be my preference if I have to listen now. I'm kind of over the Bare Naked Ladies, their music.
Why, you have $1 million now?
Yeah. If I had it, I'd buy myself an emu, a night or what is it?
Oh,
A nice Reliant
it's been
automobile.
too long. My sister is younger than me, and I was old enough to chaperone her. So I was the chaperone for the Bare Naked Ladies concerts.
Oh, nice.
Now it's getting serious. Okay. Gordon is a great album, but there's only one Rush. Yes.
I like Rush. A lot of people just didn't like Geddy Lee's voice. I'm good. I like Rush.
East Coast Nationals coming to White Plains. Have you ever attended the East Coast National? I have not.
Me neither.
Although I'd like to hear more about it because I've been thinking about going. The timing is just tough, coming right off the National. I think it's in a week or two. It's a quick turnaround.
Yeah. So is Anaheim, the Burbank show coming up at the end of the 30th to the 3rd.
Yeah.
That's really close, and I'm still not sure if I'll be going to that. Are you going? Do you know people going?
I'll be honest with you. So the National last week, and this is a full disclosure show, as I say, we settled on a house the day I left for Chicago. So I got into a car and came home to a house that I've had never been in. And tomorrow the movers come with the clothes and the furniture. And so I've been with my lovely in-laws, and I have not seen anything else in the entire world that's going on. So I have not talked to anybody since the National that I've heard that's going.
Yeah. I'd like to go. I'm not sure if I'm not sure. I'm 50-50 right now. I'd like to go just to see it. I think it's going to be an awesome show. So I'd love to be there. And of course, spend another weekend immersed in hobby and cards and all the people, the big names that are there, as Mike Petty would say. Look forward to seeing the big names, the small names, and the medium names.
Well, the hobby is the names.
The hobby is the name. Oh, John's got to update his catchphrase. He's got to revise his tagline to the hobby is the names.
Ruben says, John, at least he didn't say Nickelback. That's going to Keating. So
Nickelback's from my province, not too far away.
What kind of music do you listen to? I'm not putting the Canadian label on you.
You know, my favorite bands of like all time are like, it's a mix, right? I love REM. REM is one of my all-time favorite bands. The Offspring. I love The Offspring. Steely Dan is like, I love Steely Dan music. Like, I'm all over the place with music. I love The Weeknd. The Weeknd's got an excellent voice and good catchy music. I like, it's funny. My boy is 4 years old. And all he wants to listen to all the time is Iron Man by Black Sabbath. He's like, Daddy, can you play Black Sabbath? He's 4. Can you play Black Sabbath? My 4-year-old wants to listen to freaking Ozzy Osbourne. Like, it's hilarious. So he's off to a better start than I was, I'd say.
He's being exposed to more. The great Yogi Berra quote, nobody goes to the Anaheim show nowadays. It's too crowded.
This is the first Anaheim show in quite some time, I think, actually. So,
well, that the old Yogiism. Nobody goes there anymore. It's too crowded. And here it is, August 18th to 20th, 500 tables for the East Coast National. I mean, that's a huge show.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I mean, good for them. I'd love, like I said, if anybody goes, certainly in 2 weeks, or leave in the comments. Love to hear more about it. Kind of what it looks like there. Jeremy, as we wrap up here, you've been a fantastic pinch mensch. Has this been painless?
Yeah, it's awesome. Oh, I want to also mention the Red Hot Chili Peppers, another one of my all-time favorites. I'm going to keep on remembering groups and mentioning them.
I'll give you Under the Bridge. Everything else is a little bit.
It's a great song.
Whole album, even
the Californication album is Blood Sugar Sex Magic and Californication.
I was about to say,
yeah. They just put one out like last year, and I listened to it once, and I haven't gone back to it.
I'm a little bit older in my taste in music. No Gordon Lightfoot, Mookie wants to know. I'm a Doors, Dead, Stones, Beatles.
I love all that too. I love
Yeah.
all. I was thinking The Doors a few minutes ago. I love The Doors. The Doors.
Well, that's why
movie.
when you said the Traveling Wilburys, right in my wheelhouse.
Yeah, perfect.
I mean, it really is. And by the way, if anybody's never heard of the Traveling Wilburys, PSA moment here, public service announcement, not grading company. Traveling Wilburys were a kind of a superstar band that put out 2 albums. It helped me on this one, but it was Roy Orbison for the first album, and then we have Bob Dylan, Tom Petty, George Harrison.
Oh yeah.
I
go foggy after those 4.
Yeah. Needless to say, like ridiculously cool and good album. Hard to find Phil and Mensches. I'm only half a mensch. Mazel tov to my handsome friends. Sundown, you better take care. By Tom Petty rookie cards.
I love it. That's awesome, Mike Petty. Great comment.
Hysterical.
The guy from ELO.
Yeah.
Electric Light Orchestra.
And Jocelyn. All right. Well, on that note, Jeremy, thank you for stepping in. I really appreciate it. John Newman, we hope you get better. Jeremy, tell everybody where they can find you.
Calgary, Alberta, everybody.
Yes, come to his house. He's got a lovely sleep sofa. You're invited any night.
Have an extra. I'm in one of I have a 2 bedroom in my basement. This is one. I've made it the studio office, and the other one's over there. You're all welcome. You can Sports Cards Live is my YouTube channel, and my Instagram handle is right below my name on the screen. Glad to be here. I hope John Newman feels better soon. It was great to see him at the National, as always. Great to see you, Danny. The whole Hobby News Daily crew, those that were there, and thanks for having me. This is I'll pinch mensch for John or yourself anytime you guys need.
Well, I appreciate it. To everybody else, see you in 2 weeks. This will be on audio Monday on Sports Card Nation podcast. Take care.